Please be seated. The court is now back in session. Court officer, could you invite the civil party TCCP 170 into the courtroom? Good afternoon, Mr. Civil Party. May we know your name? Civil Party, my name is Yin Rumdul. Thank you. Can you tell us your date of birth? Answer. In fact, I was born in 1965. It means I should be 48 this year. However, after 1979, and in order to enroll in my study, the principal of the school changed my year of birth. As such, I am now non-officially born to be 11 August 1969. Thank you. Question. Where were you born? Answer. I was born in Quarter 5, Phnom Penh. What is your current occupation and where do you live? Answer. I am living in Sala Kotsai village, Swai Dongkum commune, Siem Reap district, Siem Reap province. I am a civil servant. What are the names of your father and mother? And are you married? If so, what is your wife's name? And how many children do you have? Answer. My father's name is Yen Si Daret, and my mother's name is Kum Chon. I am married, and we have 2 children. Thank you, Mr. Yen Rumdul. As a civil party before this court, you are given an opportunity to make your statement of sufferings and harms inflicted upon you materially, physically, and psychologically, which are the direct result of the crimes that occurred and which led you to become a civil party in this case. The crime which have been charged against the 2 accused, namely Nuchi and Khieu Sampon, and which occurred during the Democratic Cambodia regime from the 17th April 1975 to the 6th of January 1979. You may proceed. Civil Party. First of all, allow me to express my gratitude to Mr. President and the bench of the trial chamber, and my respects to the entire court and to my national and international friends. My name is Nirumdul. I am a former orphan of the Democratic Cambodia regime. In 1975, when I was 10 years old, I was a child with a proper care of my parents, and I was a good child towards my parents, and I was in a former grade 9. On the 17th April 1975, the Khmer Rouge took control of Phnom Penh city at 9 a.m. at the Jain La Theatre, and my house was nearby the Jain La Theatre in Tul Svai Prey, and I can vividly recall the event. When I saw the black-clad Khmer Rouge soldiers entering in Phnom Penh, I applauded with other people as a child. I did not know anything at all. I only saw a number of soldiers and I was happy. And I saw a lot of Cambodian people raise a white flag and they made noise, they cheered for the peace that had returned. I also went to see the incoming tanks, the artillery and the cannons displayed by the Khmer Rouge. After I saw such an event, I returned to my house, and around 10 to 11:30, I heard gunshots being fired along the street near Svai Prey School. I was young back then. I was shocked. I did not know why the shots being fired. I saw those black-clad soldiers. Some of them rolled their pants up to the knees, and they carried AK-47s, and some of them shot into the air. People who were staying in the house were shocked. I, as a young child, asked my mother what happened. At that time, I called my mother as Mama, not like the word mother in Khmer. And she replied that she did not know what was happening. A house which was opposite of my house was shot into. And I recall that there was a soldier from that house. He returned fire. About 5 minutes later, a group of about 5 to 10 Khmer Rouge soldiers began firing into that house. I did not know what tragedy happened after. This is one of the events that I like to bring to your attention. In the evening, my grandparents, in particular my grandfather, who was paralyzed, partly paralyzed, was in bed, and we did not leave Phnom Penh yet. The Khmer Rouge shot into our house. It could be from the M16 or the AK-47, but we still remained in the house. And a little bit before that, my grandmother lit the light, and then the Khmer Rouge shot again into the house. It could be a rocket launcher that came into the house. All of us, including my parents and my uncle, then decided to leave. Along the road, while en route, I walked across Pet Chan toward Monivong Boulevard. And next morning, I knew that the dead bodies that I saw during the night was the result of the Khmer Rouge. And when we reached Chaba Ampo at around 7 a.m., the Khmer Rouge stopped us and asked my brother and my elder cousin who they were. And my brother said he was a student, and they demanded for a student ID. So he showed the ID, and then we were led to go. After we left Bagnol, we went to my grandfather's house in a Prek Ai, and we stayed there for a few days. But we observed that living there was not acceptable, as we did not have food to eat, and people died along the road and in the river. So my mother and my elder brother decided to return to my mother's side in Ok Nha Tây in Kandal province. After we left Prek Ai, which was the native village of my grandfather, the Khmer Rouge village chief in the area in Koh Ok Nha Tây in Kandal district, Kandal province, did not allow us to remain peaceful because they knew of the background of my father, who was a professor and also a senior public servant. We were then evacuated from Koh Ok Nha Tây, Kandal district, Kandal province, to Vihir Su district in Mê Bang village. I recall that clearly as I walked together with my parents and my family members, together with my half-paralyzed grandfather. After living in Mê Bang village, Vihir Su commune for a few months, the Khmer Rouge soldiers or a village chief or the militia evacuated us further from Mê Bang commune, from Kandal district, Kandal province. The evacuation was confusing, as there were hundreds of thousands of people who were evacuated from Mê Bang village, Vihir Su commune, Kandal district, Kandal province. And we stopped at Prek Prasop village in Kandal district, Kandal province. There I saw several boats and motorboats parking near the riverbank. The Khmer Rouge forced us, that is my family members, to board a boat traveling to Phnom Penh. At that time, I did not know what happened in Phnom Penh. I was pretty young, and my memory was not that clear. But upon crossing Phnom Penh through Prek Phnu, and when we arrived in Phnom Penh, it was about 3 p.m. What I saw was just the emptiness and silence. The boat almost capsized, as some people who never saw Phnom Penh moved to one side of the boat to look at the Phnom Penh city. We then continued to Prek Phnu, and we arrived there around 7 p.m. and my family and the rest of the evacuees were forced to board vehicles traveling through Posat province. Upon boarding the truck, the Khmer Rouge pointed the guns at us, and my grandfather, who was half paralyzed, was also forced to board the truck. My mother said it would be difficult to travel with my half-paralyzed father, but we could not leave him behind. And he said that no worry about him, just keep going. But then we decided to lift him up and have him with us for the journey. And then we traveled to Posat. When we almost reached Kampong Chnang, there was a Khmer Rouge truck which caught fire. There were about 10 Khmer Rouge soldiers who were armed, ran to the scene. I was shocked. I was a young boy, I could not comprehend of what was happening around me. We were then evacuated further until we reached Bakan district in Pusat province. It was around 7 a.m. and we got off the truck at Bang Khna or Tram Khna station. After we got off there, then we were put into ox carts to Premlu village and Metak village in Bakan district in Pusat province. Upon arriving in Metak, in Opril village, Metak commune, we separated from one another as I was assigned to live in a children unit. My mother lived separately. My grandmother and grandfather lived separately. And the rest of the family members, including my brother and my uncle, they lived separately. It was painful to live in that way, as I was never separated from my family members, from my mother or father or brother. But now it happened. Your Honours, when I lived in the children's unit, I was tortured like an animal. I was beaten because I stole a potato, I stole a sugar cane because I was hungry, as there was no food for me to eat. I was experiencing things that I never experienced before. I was badly mistreated, I was tied up, I was beaten, and my eyebrow broke, and the marks remain till today. My mother could not have taken care of the children, and I ran to the house, but then the militia took me back to the children's unit. It was a great suffering separating from my mother, and of course I believe you would all understand the situation if you were in the same boat. Later on, when I was separated from my mother, I was so hungry, so I stole rice seedlings one night. And I ate the seedlings, which were still dirty with mud. But I hate to do it. And then I was arrested by a village chief. I was kicked, and he then handed me over to the militia. My mother at the time was in a hospital, and the militia took me away. My mother did not know what happened to me. She asked me what happened to me, and I said I stole rice seedling and I was arrested by the village chief, and I apologized to her. After I was arrested and tied up, my mother said if I was arrested, it was like she was arrested. I was walked by the militia together with my mother to a prison in Metak commune in Bakan Kraum district in Pusat province. I lived in the Metak commune, and it was miserable. I was emaciated, and I was swollen in part due to the lack of food. I did not have anything to eat. I was beaten unconscious once while I was in prison, and in the morning they interrogated me. I was tortured once again, and I, as a child, was forced to engage in heavy work, to dig soil, to carry soil and to transplant rice seedlings. After the torture by the Khmer Rouge soldiers, the Khmer Rouge militia and the Khmer Rouge leaders, one day the village chief and the leaders held a meeting that if any member of a family fled from a prison, the entire family would be smashed. I talked about that with my mother, and I said, if you stay, you would die, or if I stay, I would die. And I asked for her opinion, and she thought that I must flee away, and I could not live in the prison. I thought about fleeing, and I asked for her opinion again whether she would allow me to escape. And she said, I must go. If I fled, then I would have a chance to survive. But it meant also that my mother would be killed. And when I escaped from the prison at 8 p.m. during a heavy rain, and when the militia changed shift, and I was young and I was emaciated, so they did not pay much attention to me. I decided to escape that night. I did not know when my mother died. I escaped from prison at around 7 or 8 p.m. under the heavy rain. I did not look back when I was fleeing in order to reach the opium village where my grandmother was living. I ran across the field where people were buried. I was scared and afraid, but I had to make up my mind to gain my strength to flee. I met my siblings and my grandmother and told them of the tragedy that happened in the prison. I told my aunt that, Auntie, Mommy asked you to go and to get the belonging that she had with her, the little belonging. But unfortunately, when my aunt went to the prison where my mother was detained, she was told that my mother died at 3 a.m. It was painful to hear that. As her son, I wept a lot. I cried, and my aunt comforted me. In fact, she almost killed when she was at the prison. She was asked why she went there. I was victimized by the regime under the leadership of Ieng Sary, Pol Pot, Nuon Chea. That was the greatest suffering I experienced. After my mother was killed in the prison, as I was told by my aunt, I thought that they would come after me and killed me, as they said they would smash the rest of the family members. Later on, I left the village and met with my male cousin who was in the transportation unit, and I asked him to stay with him as I had nowhere else to go. My cousin contacted the chief of the transportation unit by the name of Tu, who actually rescued me. Because at that time they needed someone to herd the buffaloes and the cattle, he decided to keep me in the unit. While living in the transportation unit as a child, there were several attempts to kill me, but it was lucky that Uncle Tu actually defended me. He told the chief of the militia not to mistreat me because I was young and I knew nothing. At present, actually, Uncle Tu died. I went to his funeral in a posad in my name as his godson. I witnessed a number of events while I was living with Uncle Tu, namely the torture and the killings. In particular, those people who were from Svay Rieng. That happened in 1978 when I was around 11 years old or 12 years old. I saw those people were wearing a scarf notifying that they were from Svay Rieng, and the scarf was of a blue and white color, and they were transported into Metak commune, as at the time I was herding the water buffalo for Uncle Tu. I saw those Svay Rieng people coming through the area, and only a few nights later they were taken and killed in Hong Tak area, that is in Metak commune. I saw it because when I heard the water buffalo, I saw what happened, and I told Uncle Tu that of what I saw, and he asked me to keep quiet. I still remember the words by Uncle Tu, and I herded the buffaloes to the other area. Later on, Uncle Tu was transferred to work somewhere near Tunle Sap, that is to work on a charcoal production. It was near the Tunle Sap village. While I was there, I saw another event that a family was taken and killed, and there were about 5 to 6 members in that family. I was still in a transportation unit with Uncle Tu, and I still herded the water buffaloes and cattle. Under the trang tree, the family was executed a few days later. I watched the killing by the Khmer Rouge, and then I ran to tell Uncle Tu that people were killed at the Rang tree, and he told me the same thing, that is to ask me to keep quiet. The next event that I encountered was that a member of a family was raped by the militia. After she was raped, she was killed. I knew of the killing because of the scream, and she was killed by the Khmer Rouge. These events were of a painful nature for me as a child who was about 12 years old. Dear Honours, what I am stating today to the chamber, to the nation and the world is the tragedy, the cruelest tragedy that happened during the Pol Pot regime. It was worse than animals. I lost my father, my mother, my uncle. I want them to give back what they owe me in their names as the leaders of the regime. They have to be responsible for those acts. they have to open the new chapter of their history and to reveal the bad things that they act under the Khmer Rouge regimes in their names as the leaders. I've been waiting for 34 years for this day, and I have it saved in my brain that I will speak out the bad deeds by those people if I have the chance to do so. So that the world and the Khmer people who were victimized know of what happened. The painful tragedy inflicted upon me as a child, separating me from my parents, deprived me of my education. What was the morality of the leaders? And that's for you, Mr. Kirsampon, to think. Likewise for Noon Chia. You are one of the intellectuals, you should consider that. And you must there facing the truth and tell the truth to the nation and the world. And you should not feel regret to do so. I apologize to Your Honor as I have to reveal the suffering, the pains that I have kept for so long. The tortured mark on my eyebrow remains with me today. And that's the result of the acts undertaken by your gang, by your group. You did not love your nation, but on the contrary, you destroyed your nation. When the world hear the word Khmer, they are afraid. They are afraid because of the acts committed by people like you. President, thank you. There is only 12 minutes remaining for the time allocation for the little co-lawyer. If you have any question, you can put a question to your client or any question from your client to the accused. Counsel, thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jetwan Lee, lawyer for civil parties, and I have a few questions in addition to what has been stated by Mr. Yenarumdu. Can you tell us again the actual position of your father? Civil Party, thank you for the question. My father was Yen Sidaret. He was a professor and a senior military personnel under of the Khmer Rouge. On the 16th April 1975, he was arrested by the Khmer Rouge. He was actually a commander of Division 16 of the Khmer Rouge force in Bonti Dai Barak. He was arrested on the 16th of April 1975 and he disappeared since. Thank you. Question. Do you have any requests to be made to the chamber? Answer, yes, I do, Mr. President and Your Honors. I would like Mr. Kirsampon and Noon Chia to tell the truth. Counsel interrupt. What I'm asking you is whether you have any request for the chamber or if you wish to claim for any reparation. Civil Party. Thank you, Mr. President, Your Honors. I'd like this court to find me justice for me and for the entire nation, and to punish the perpetrators proportional to the gravity of the crimes they have committed. They are the ones who are responsible, so that is to deter the other leaders or the next generation leaders or other world leaders, and not to set example for them. Question: do you wish to claim for any reparation? Answer: I do not wish to claim for any reparation, but I request the chamber to build a stupa for my mother and father in Cambodia commune, Kandal district, Kandal province. That is all what I'm asking for. Counsel, thank you. Do you have any questions to be put to the accused? Answer. Mr. President, Your Honors, and the counsel for the defense, I have 5 questions to be put to the two accused. Counsel, Mr. President, I seek your permission for my client to put the questions to the accused. President, Mr. Jenrumdul, you can put questions to the accused, but you cannot put the questions directly to them. Your questions to be put through the President of the Chamber, that is myself. So you put the questions to me, and then I will redirect them to the accused, if they wish to respond to your question, and you may do so now. Civil Party, Mr. President, Your Honors, I have 5 questions to be put to Mr. Kit Sampon and Mr. Noon Chia. First, are you aware of the arrest and the disappearance of my father, Yen Sidaret, who was a professor and a colonel with his base in Bontiek Dijk, near Nea Leung? Second question, have you ever thought of the consequence of the killing of the separations of the family members caused by the Khmer Rouge and by you? Have you awakened and feel regret for your participation in the regime, which caused great sufferings to the entire nation and the entire people? My third question, in your capacity as a high intellectual, do you dare to tell the truth regarding the events that took place under the Khmer Rouge regime, so that the nation, the people in the world know? In your capacity as your senior leaders and as the high intellectuals, and that you gained your popularity because of your intellectuality under the previous regime. My first question, do you plan to express your sorrow to the world, to the nation, and to myself? The last question, in your capacity as the president or the president of state presidium, what did you know about the level of the living condition of the people who suffered from hunger, from detentions, arbitrary arrest, and tortured and killing under your regime? Mr. President, that is all. My 5 questions are already put.
The President, thank you. I refer these 5 questions from the civil party to the co-accused, beginning with Mr. Khieu Sampon first, and followed by Mr. Nguyen Chia. Mr. Khieu Sampon, you have the floor now. Mr. Khieu Sampon, my respect to the President of the Chamber and my respect to your honors, members of the bench, and my respect to everyone in and around the courtroom, and good afternoon, Mr. Civil Party, Mr. Yen Rumdul. I would like to share with you that if I were you, I also had the same sorrow and pain. For your first question, may I inform you that I had never known your father. I had never known Mr. Yen Sidaret, and I feel extremely sorry for the disappearance and the brutal killing of your father. May I inform you that since I fled the city and took refuge in the forest, I was under the protection of the leaders of the Khmer Rouge up until 1979. Therefore, I was living in a condition that was separate from the ordinary residents. From 1970 to 1979, I had to live close to the leaders of the Democratic Cambodia, and my role in the Democratic Cambodia period was to save my life. Never had I known the atrocity committed by the military commanders and leaders. These notorious acts of those leaders deserve condemnation. I did not know the great suffering of our people. I considered this notorious act as the act of the crook, and I have already heard the testimony as well as the statement of suffering of other civil parties. Thus far, I do share my condolences with them and their family. I am not an ideologist of the Communist Party of Cambodia, but I uphold my idealism, that is to share with the people at that time to help reconstruct our country and develop our country, particularly to ensure that our country is safe and secured. For your second question, once again, I would like to express my sincere condolence with you, and I strongly condemn their act, and these perpetrators must be brought to justice, and their punishment must be proportionate to the gravity, the silliness, the stupidity of these people. The fact that I joined the Democratic Cambodia was not to kill Cambodian people. It was not my intention, but it was my determination to have our country, to protect our country, and to develop our country. But unfortunately, it turned out to be a complete disaster. I have already told the court that I will stand by the court, and I will, of course, cooperate with the court to the best of my ability and knowledge in their pursuit of ascertaining the truth. That's why I am making every effort to respond to each and every question by the civil parties. And I am also prepared to answer to all questions posed by other parties to the proceedings. As for your fourth question, I would like to respond to you as follows. Yesterday, I put my hand together to express my apology to Madame Hua Chantha, and through Madame Hua Chantha, I would like to express my apology to Cambodian people across the country who suffered so far in the regime. And today, once again, I would like to express my sincere apology to you. I would like to express my sincere condolences to your family, to you and your families, particularly your fathers and mothers and other beloved relatives who died during the period. I understand the great suffering you have had to endure. Question number 5. Looking from outside, people would consider that I was someone of authority. Indeed, at that time, my title was huge. But in reality, I had no power at all. I had no authority whatsoever to order the arrest of anyone. I was working in the top position that I did not know what was going on the ground, particularly ordinary people at the base. I did not know that the people had been tortured and abused and mistreated. I did not know that the people had been detained arbitrarily in the base. And once again, I would like to express my apology. I apologize from my heart. And even though I did not play any role in the decision-making body of the Democratic Cambodia, as I said this morning, a rotten apple in a basket would ruin the rest. And as a matter of fact, I am not a rotten apple because I did not commit these heinous crimes. And those who committed these crimes would be the most stupid person on earth. And I would not imagine that anyone could commit such a very serious crime. The President. Thank you. Now I refer these 5 questions to Mr. Nguyen Chia. Mr. Nguyen Chia, my respect to the chamber and the court. The President, Mr. Nguyen Chia, please proceed. Interpreter interrupts. It is not audible for the interpreter. The President, Mr. Nguyen Chia, please hold on because your voice is not being transmitted to the courtroom. So hold on for a moment. Mr. Nguyen Chia, I have commented on the various questions posed by the civil parties. Once again, I would like to reiterate that I am responsible for what had happened during the period of the Democratic Cambodia. I am not evading my responsibility. I am bearing the responsibility from my heart. I am being frank with you. In my capacity as a member of the Democratic Cambodia, I accept the responsibility, even though I committed directly or indirectly, but I feel remorseful for the crimes that were committed intentionally or unintentionally, and whether or not I had known about it or not known about it. And I would like to reiterate that I take the responsibility morally. Morally, I take the responsibility. I need to emphasize. And on this occasion, let me express my sincere condolences to the loss of your family members, Mr. Rumdul. To my recollection, your name is Rumdul. And I would like to once again clarify my role during the Democratic Cambodia period. Point 1, I was the Deputy Secretary and a permanent or standing committee member of the Communist Party of Cambodia in charge of internal education and propaganda. Point number 2, I was in charge of the chairman of the Committee of People's Assembly of Cambodia. These were my 2 main roles. As for the role in the executive branch, I did not have any power or authority in the executive branch, and this is the fact, and I will leave to the chamber to find out and decide based on this fact. And what I did in the past was for the interest of my country and people. The President, thank you. Now I hand over the floor to the prosecutor to put the question to Mr. Rumdul, the civil party. If you have any question to put to them at all, please proceed. Mr. Simon King. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. President, your honors and parties to the proceeding, and everyone in and outside the courtroom. And good afternoon, Mr. Rumdul. Mr. Jan Rumdul, my colleague, my international colleague, and I from the Office of Co-Prosecutors, we have a few questions we would like to seek your clarification. This is to follow up with what you have testified in court. Earlier on, you said that on the 17th of April 1975, they launched a rocket into your house and the house opposite your house. Can you tell the court on this particular point, why did they do that? What was the reason behind launching rockets into your house? Response. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, the co-prosecutor. The event of the attack on my house, I witnessed it by my own eye. At first, the Khmer Rouge soldier just shot the gun into the air in order to threaten the people to leave their house. And actually, there was also exchange of fires as well with the resident who actually carried arms as well. Then the Khmer Rouge launched a rocket propeller into the house, so I thought that the person were killed. And at that time, when the exchange of fire erupted, I actually flee for my life as well. I could not actually follow up what happened afterwards. Question. You said that the exchange of fires was from the house of a former military commander. Which government or which size of the soldiers was that commander from? Response. The house that I actually saw that there was an exchange of fires, I actually visited that house occasionally too, because I went to pick some guavas over there during free time when I was young, and he was a person with the rank of a colonel at that time. Question. At that period, to your knowledge, do you know anything about the fate of the soldiers of the previous administrations or the civil servants of the previous administration? Do you know anything about their fate when the Khmer Rouge captured Phnom Penh? Response. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. Concerning the event that happened in front of my house, I actually did not know what had happened to the civil servants or soldiers of the Republic Khmer government. But on the 17th of April 1975, there was a forced evacuation of people at gunpoint. They threatened people to leave their house at gunpoint. Question. Concerning the evacuation, when your family were leaving Phnom Penh on the evacuation order, what was your impression of the situation along the street? Did you witness any people dying on the street, or what was your impression? What was the situation like? Response. I did witness the event. I was about 10 years plus of age. I witnessed it. Actually, my brother brought a car with him, but it ran out of gasoline. So we actually, when we were going along the ways, we saw a lot of misery. Some people still had their IVs on the in their hand, and they were still marching out of the city. And I saw sick people, and I saw corpses scattered along the street. I saw a few corpses somewhere near Kabalsnal. The situation was chaotic, and it was miserable. I also saw sick people being towed in a cart. I actually did not know what I could have people. I only saw it. Actually, my family was also victims of this evacuation, and we could not be of any help to others along the street. Question. When you were on the evacuation, did you observe that there was food distribution or protections or health care provided to the people who were being evacuated? Response. No, not at all. We did not even have sufficient water to drink, let alone the food. My mother brought along with her some bank notes, but when we got to VM, it was dumped away because it was of no use. So we had nothing at all. Question. When you reach the location where you were supposed to go, did you receive, were you received by anyone, for example, village chief or cooperative chief, to join the cooperative, or when you got there, then you stay at home? Can you please describe the situation? Response. When I got to Posat province in Opriel village, Metak commune, Bakan district, Posat province, the village chief and the child unit separated me from my mother and my older siblings. So I did not stay with them anymore. I was separated from my beloved family. I was forced to leave my family, and they also torture me. I still have a scars on my eyebrow until today. Let me interrupt you now, says the prosecutor. Of course, you said that you were evacuated to Pusat and you got on the train before you reached Pusat province, according to your statement earlier, and then you got on the truck too. Can you enlighten the court when exactly you were evacuated to Pusat, and when did you get there? Response. To my recollection, it was in late 1975 or early 1976, if my memory serves me well. As for the exact date, I do not recall. Prosecutor, thank you. That should be enough. On a separate point, when you and your family were being transferred to Posat province, did they tell you the reason for your transfer? What were you supposed to do over there? Response. Thank you. On this issue, I knew nothing about it because I was far too young at that time. And in addition, I think my mother was not informed of that as well. All she knew was that Angka required her to go there. And I had to go along with my wife. As for the reason why we were sent there, I did not know. I only knew that when I got there, I received a punishment. I was made to work extremely hard from 7 o'clock in the morning until 12, from 1 to 7, and from 7 to 11 at night. This was the punishments of hard labors that I had to endure. Thank you. Question. Can you clarify a little further when your family was evacuated to Posat province? Do you know how many family members were being evacuated along with your family to Posat province? Response. I cannot come up with the numbers of families who were being evacuated over there, but I could only say that there were lots of them, and I was very young at that time to come up with any number. Prosecutor. Yes, that should be enough. You say that lots of family members. And in addition, earlier you told the court that you travel back and forth in Posat province from one place to another. So while you were on the move, did you hear or did you actually learn from your parents or guardian about a place called Tulpo Chai? Have you ever heard of it at all?
Answer. I never heard of the name of Tulpo Chai, as I was in Bakan district. Tulpo Chai was in Kandiang district, and I did not have any means of knowing of what happened in another district. If I were to go, then I would be killed. Due to the time limit, I finish my questioning now, and thank you, Mr. Rumdul, for your participation in this court's proceedings. Thank you. President, thank you. The floor is now given to Nguyen Chi's defense to put questions to this civil party. Sonarun. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, and good afternoon, Mr. Rumdul. On behalf of Mr. Nguyen Chi, I do not have any questions for you. Thank you, Mr. President. President, thank you. The floor is then given to defense team for Khieu Samphan. Put questions to this civil party. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. On behalf of Mr. Khieu Samphan, I do not have any questions for this civil party. Thank you. President, thank you, Mr. General Rumdul. The hearing of your statement of sufferings, harms, and your testimony is now concluded, and you may now be excused from this courtroom. And your statement of sufferings, harms, may contribute to ascertaining the truth in this case. And we wish you all the very best, and have a safe trip for your return to your residence. Court officer, in collaboration with Visu, please assist Mr. Rumdul for his return to his residence or wherever he wishes to go to. The time is now appropriate for a shorter break. We will take a break now and return at 10 to 3. The court is now adjourned.